The crab goes in for a cunning stratagem due to his greed. He is very fond of oysters and likes to get himself a banquet of their flesh. But, although eager for dinner, he understands the danger since the pursuit is as difficult as it is hazardous. It is difficult because the inner flesh of an oyster is contained within very strong shells, as if nature, its maker, had by her imperial command fortified the soft part of the body with walls. She feeds and cherishes this flesh in a kind of arched dome in the middle of the shell, disposes it as if it were in a sort of hollow. For this reason, the handling of oysters has to be done carefully, because nothing can open the closed oyster by force, and thus it is dangerous for the crab to insert his claw. Betaking himself to artfulness, therefore, the crab lays an ambush with a new plot of his own. Because all species delight in relaxing themselves, the crab investigates to find out whether at any time the oyster opens that double shell of his in places remote from all wind and safe from rays of the sun, or whether it unlocks the fastenings of its gate so that it may pleasure its internal organs in the free air. Then the crab, secretly casting in a pebble, prevents the closing of the oyster, and thus, finding the lock forced, inserts his claws safely and feeds on the internal flesh. Now is not that just like men, those corrupt creatures who follow the habit of the crab creep into the practice of unnatural trickery and eke out the weakness of their powers by a sort of cunning. They join deceit to cruelty and are fed upon the distress of others. Do you, therefore, be content with your own things, and do not seek the injury of your neighbors to support you. The simple fare of a man who does no harm is the right food. Having his own property, he knows not how to plot against his fellow man's, not does he burn with the flames of avarice. Covetousness is to him only a loss of virtue and an incentive to greed. And so, blessed is that poverty which truthfully sticks to its own goods, and meet it is to be preferred above all riches. Better is little with the fear of the Lord than great trouble and treasure therewith. Better is a dinner of herbs, where love is, than a stalled ox, and hatred therewith. Let us then devote ourselves to acquiring merit, and to maintaining what is wholesome, not to the cheating of another's innocence. Let it be left to us to make use of the marine example in perfecting our own well-being, not in the undoing of our neighbor. Crabs are so called because they are shellfish with legs. These animals are hostile to oysters, for they live on the flesh of those by a wonderful stratagem. Because they cannot open the shell, they puzzle out how to pick the lock. They privily insert a stone, and the closing of the oyster being prevented, eat away its flesh. Some people relate that if 10 crabs are compounded with a handful of basil, all scorpions in the neighborhood will be gathered to that place. There are 2 kinds of crab, river ones and sea ones.